I'm a new member at Plymouth. I joined last summer in the midst of COVID and soon after George Floyd died. I had attended Plymouth a number of times over the course of 12 or 18 months, while also checking out other local churches. But in the wake of George Floyd's death and the racial unrest that followed, I decided that Plymouth was the place for me to be. I also asked to get involved with the Racial Justice Initiative, partly because I wanted to learn more and also as a way to meet people. I admit that I'm very late to understanding my white advantage, so I was looking for a community in which I could explore that understanding. One of the things that I love about Plymouth is that it accepts us where we are in our journey. I grew up in a small farming community in Iowa where everyone was white. That is when I was in the 5th grade and the school board hired a black music teacher. This was in 1965. The hiring of Mr. Jenkins rocked and split our community. Some parents took their kids out of school and moved them to nearby schools. My parents were mostly quiet about Mr. Jenkins, even though they were undoubtedly on edge because they weren't at all familiar with blacks. In no time at all, Mr. Jenkins became a much-loved teacher, kind of a to serve with love type of teacher. 4 years later, he left my hometown for a large school in Denver. I wonder now who considered how difficult those formative years in Glidden, Iowa were for Mr. Jenkins, being fresh out of college and the only black person in a farming community of 1,000 white people. Until recently, I didn't recognize the lasting influence that Mr. Jenkins had on me either. Recent racial unrest, coupled with how black and brown people are more affected by COVID, has further raised my consciousness about the plight of blacks and my advantage of being white. I'm trying to learn by listening and reading. I listened recently to the Seeing White podcast series. It tells very difficult stories of our U.S. history. I also recently participated in the Sacred Sites Tour with RJI members. This tour of Dakota Indian sacred sites taught me about the Dakota Indians and Minnesota's history. I had no idea about our state's history. While I feel fortunate that I'm a well-educated person, I have a lot to learn when it comes to Minnesota's and our country's history. My mission is to learn more. I believe that I can move forward better if I better understand our past. This I believe.